Here we go. Here we are. Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to check first to see what you can see on the share screen. I have two things on my laptop. One of them is one of the Tibetan prayers, something that I recite actually every day. I'm wondering if you can see that. It starts with, "May I be a guard." And is that visible?
Yes.
And then is there this other thing visible that I'm moving around? Does that interrupt or get in the way at all?
I can't
Your
see what.
pointer?
Great. No, it was just
Oh.
moving another page. Good. So you guys didn't get interrupted by that. That's what I wanted to see.
Yeah.
Yes, good morning, everyone. So a few interesting things, of course, as everyone knows, but you know, this is happening for everyone all the time, right? Birthing and deathing is a continuous experience. It is not a moment. It is, maybe we could say, every moment. And so, yes, there is the other truth then, that we in our human condition celebrate special milestone moments, births, birthdays, movements throughout our accomplishment and evolution, things like graduations and marriages and maybe even divorces. These contractions and expansions of this human life that we are all experiencing. And one of them is, of course, besides aging, illness, dying, death, and our family has recently experienced that in that somewhat more clear-seeing way because of the loss of the body of the person. That's my father-in-law, Al's dad, Jim. It's been a week and a day now. And one of the things that I've really been reflecting on, and someone asked me directly about it, and I thought, wow, we haven't talked about this in a while. This is a really good thing to get back to. So they asked me two things. The first was, well, if you're a Buddhist, what do you believe happens to the body, to the being, and do you believe in karma, and do you believe? And the answer to all that is, I don't know anything, truly. I don't have a belief about that. The teachings from which I am drawing have some perspective, maybe the most important being that every action taken now, this present moment, sets a fertile soil for the next. Sometimes we call that cause and effect or karma. And then there's even these other iterations that we aren't going to go into today, things like reincarnation. And do I believe that? No, I don't have beliefs about that. Do I have a sense of that in my present life? Yes, I actually do, quite a bit. The reincarnation, we could simply say, for example, of this Diana sitting here today, now, and the one who got up, the Diana who is now speaking, that is in whatever iteration, incarnation different than the one who spoke the moment before. And so to that extent, yes, I do have a very clear awareness that there is no one solid self, that self changes from birth to death, before, during, and after. And so do I know that? Well, that's what I can know here. That's what I know so far. and then the second question is, though my training comes from the mindfulness science and then the Eastern contemplative traditions, what is more true is that I am open to all things that speak to or shine light on the truth of this human life and beyond. And so I use, as you see, resources from all kinds of places to speak to those truths. And so it's not, wouldn't be reasonable for me to say I am this or that, given what I do know. And so I don't. So that was one conversation. It didn't go very far because the person was looking to make a placement, to name something and to hold it solidly. And so that wasn't very helpful, and I understood that. The second thing that happened then was that that same person said, well, do you pray? And I said, yes, every day. And she said, well, that doesn't make any sense that you pray if you don't believe in God, or I think the actual, maybe it was Jesus Christ. And I said, wow, that's interesting, because there are, infinite traditions that pray to infinite source, both the source within, the source around, the sources in nature, the natural laws of things, the universe, and then any perspective, any realization, we could say, of a theistic being. Maybe some would say God, some wouldn't. Divine source, right? Any and all of that. And we have Seth today, which is lovely because I know Seth has practiced somewhat extensively in a Christian tradition. So Seth, I hope you'll join. And then I thought, wow, this is interesting, this idea of prayer. And the idea of prayer being only valid or only meaningful if you have a thing to which you pray. There is some truth in that, as we know, and there's some not truth in that. And I wanted to speak to that a little bit today with all of you. I thought it would be an interesting conversation. So I want to do a few things today. One is, I want you to be thinking about for yourself, what does prayer mean for you? There are 7 or 10 or infinite numbers, let's say, of types of prayer. We have prayers of thanksgiving, prayers of supplication. We call it prayers of, Seth might be able to help me, interrogatory prayer, which I think is a prayer with a request. There's distant prayer, prayer that we pray for others that are not present, centering prayer. We could go on endlessly. And one of the questions I'm going to invite is, yes, the science says, let's go there for a minute, non-dual. The science says that there does need to be a purposeful placement of mind in prayer. Purposeful placement, intention would need to be identified. And so though we're not going to review the types of prayer, we're not going to review, I want you to think about in your moments of crisis, darkness, confusion, your moments of overwhelm, your moments of supplication, we could call it, when it's like, I've got nothing else. What do you do? What's that look like, feel like for you? And for me, I use prayer, and I've put the one that I recite every day up as a reminder, a remembering, a recollecting, a calling back into being, a calling live, making real the qualities of my being and beyond. So, not just self-directed at all, in fact, quite other, from all sources, I would say, from all that has come before, all those who have prayed before, all those who have contributed to the good, all the elements, all of the, I'm an equal opportunity, um, divine inspiration. I call on everything I can think of to support this present moment, the contributions to the welfare and benefit of all beings, and how then to best do that. And I invite that quality. Whether we then place it in a being, a deity, a guru, a prayer, I think that just becomes the infinite doorways of making real our highest selves. And then not only ourselves, but like in distant prayer, elevating everyone's consciousness, elevating everyone's being by the very naming, by the very calling out, by the very repetition. And what do we know in the science? Well, what we actually do know is if you are a person who has participated in, let's say, centering prayer, meditation, then in these times of transition, in these iterations, there will be something in which to call on, even when everything is changing. That the brain will go towards that which it can hold by repetition, by the truth that what we practice grows stronger, that what we name is made manifest, and that we are then naturally in community because we let go of the self-cherishing. We let go of the me in this, opening to that which is what greater, vast, communal, collective, right? I hope you're getting the idea. So I thought I would recite this, and then we're going to do a little investigation. And the investigation is going to be, where do you know that felt sense? Where does it go? It isn't just about me now, sitting here with my achy knee or my busy day or my challenge of the du jour. Where does it happen for you? And I'm going to invite some of those sense door opportunities. And then the practice this week, for those who will have to get off before we can talk more about this, is going to be to find the repetition, a phrase, a poem, a prayer, from a root tradition, from another, something that really resonates for you. This will be important. And I'd like you to repeat that at least 3 times a day, whatever. You're going to likely, unless it's the Lord's Prayer or some prayer that you have taken from a tradition, you will likely have to have it in writing for a time. But I want you to see this week what the impact of that repetition, that reciting, that calling aloud is for you. We have a lot of clarity. Again, in the science, more and more, that which we see has impact, that which we speak has more impact, that which we write has greater yet impact, that which we embody has more impact, which is then what a hands together, a bow, a prostration, a dance, right? And I want you to have a felt sense of that today. Does that sound like something that would be interesting or meaningful to anyone? Just write me in chat about that. Would you? It's something I'm feeling super curious about because someone said, pray. Wow, that's weird that you pray. Because I don't do that. And it is true. I do not pray. in maybe the same way that a Christian prays. And the other truth is, I suspect in many ways, it's also the same. Okay, yes, good. Thanks for that. I want to know, because this is just, something I'm experiencing and curious about. And I feels like that wouldn't be a bad inquiry and then practice for us all, I have to say. And so remember, I'm making an invitation. We're going to go through forms of prayer. I'm just going to offer one and then you grab one as we're going through if that is from a tradition or by heart, or there's already an existing repetition within you. These would be very beneficial. I want you to feel it, know it, sense it. However, I don't want us thinking about it. Do the words matter? Well, there's a little bit of research on this. Peter Levine himself here in La Jolla has done a little bit of this research. And the research was that if you knew the words and you were by yourself, it was a little more useful if you actually knew the words instead of just doing gibberish, let's say. What also was interesting is that there was a level at which it did not matter, that the very vibration, the very calling out, the very setting the intention was what mattered more than the words themselves. Okay, now it's interesting. The calling out, the actual vibration of the prayer, the song, the chant, and the sense of community, belonging, was more important than the words themselves. So this, how I have been in the temples, the cathedrals, the churches of traditions I do not know, in a language that I do not speak, and have been moved to tears by it. Isn't it true? Isn't it true? And so you go, well, I didn't even know what they were saying. And the words weren't the point. The intention, the vibration, the resonance, the sincerity, the humility, the generosity, the calling out beyond oneself can be felt. All right, that's plenty, huh? I decided to do the Dharma talk at the front because I want us to understand what we're looking at. Yes, the more we do it, the stronger it gets. What we practice grows stronger. And from the meditation traditions, maybe not less from the traditions in prayer, it says, be very familiar with it, because at the time of distress and at the time of death, if you have not called on this, it will not be available to you. There's a couple studies I'll share with you. It's from Duke, Columbia, really high level programs about the studies they've done with health as it relates, and angioplasty specifically, as it relates to those who had that resource versus those who did not. Seth says, this is crazy. I've been thinking all week and I am feeling called to this kind of, repetitive prayer. Japa, as they call it in the Hindu tradition. And I've been looking for the words. Yes, we're going to find those words this week, Seth. You may have to experiment a little to see where the resonance is, but I think having it in hand, what you're saying is also what we know holds us in times of greatest opening, greatest love, greatest distress. And so here we go. There's two things I want to read, so get ready to sit. Here's from Rilke, who I have the Book of Hours, one of my favorite books. Rilke was a Christian impacted by some Eastern traditions. All who seek you test you, and those who find you bind you to image and gesture. Who is he talking about? I would rather sense you as the earth senses you. In my ripening ripens who and what you are. I need from you no tricks, I think that means miracles, to prove you exist. Time, I know, is other than you. No miracles, please. Just let your laws become clearer. The truth, I think he's saying, from generation to generation, from moment to moment. Let what is most true be revealed, moment to moment. That's from Rilke. And as we prepare to sit, I will be reciting the prayer I recite every day. Why? Is it because I think you should be reciting this one? Not at all. However, I want you to get something from my recitation. I want you to get the resonance of what that means, those words, that vibration, that sound means for me. And I want you to experience that directly. See if you can sense that as compared to just talking. So preparing to sit, establishing oneself in an upright, dignified, open-hearted, and present posture. Feel the sense of the body sitting here. We're going to call our attention now and place it on purpose and there's a couple things we can place it on. We can be very tangible. We can place it on the body just to anchor, stabilize the mind. We can place it in open space. We can actually choose to hold both, this body in space. These are useful immersions. And then we can hold that which is larger, bigger, timeless, beyond this body. Remember, in its expanding and contracting, in its divine source, that which is larger than what can be felt by the body. May I be a guard for those who need protection, a guide for those on the path, a boat, a raft, a bridge for those who wish to cross the flood. May it be a lamp in the darkness, a resting place for the weary, a healing medicine for those who are sick, a vase of plenty, a wishing tree, and for the boundless multitudes of living beings. May I bring sustenance and awakening, enduring like the earth and sky, until all beings are freed from sorrow and all are awakened. Until all are freed from sorrow. There may have been a word, a phrase that invited something for you. When I am in the short course of the prayer, I simply say, may I be a boat, a rib, a bridge, a raft for all beings. May we offer this prayer, this presence, this intention and aspiration to the happiness, the safety, and the well-being of all beings everywhere without exception, omitting none, freeing us all. And so we just rest in the natural awareness that is available here, resting also in that intention and aspiration to contribute. And we have the three methods for contribution. We can, at least by our stillness, by our silence, by our opening, we can cause least harm. We become, by this very action, a living prayer, open, receptive, and still. And then we place the mind on purpose with intention in a place where we can move beyond our own contracted, self-cherishing mind. We get out of the thinking mode, resting in something that is larger. That can be open space, for example. That can be the awareness of the rhythm and sensations of the breath. The very repetition of the breath itself is the beginning of a prayer. We are creating space and room. We are setting motivation, generating intention. We rest in silence and stillness so that we can hear that which is beyond this small thinking mind. We are just creating open space, stable mind. We follow the breath for stability, and then we open with that stability into the vast open space. The reality that is beyond this body, this thinking mind. And in all prayer, we ask for support, for assistance, not for the small means, not to get the new purse, not to make sure the boyfriend asks me out. We ask that all that is good, all that is capable of contributing, all those who have been in the tradition, the lineage, all who have asked before, all those deities, God, um, the quality of the heart mind of all beings, and all that is beyond being. We begin to gather and open to this reality, that which has come before, that which is present now, and that which is yet to come. We open beyond time. And you can call that by any name that makes sense for you. Remember, I speak about it in this way because I don't have an object or a thing. It's really a quality of being. And that can be embodied in another, in a deity, in a pet, in an ancestor, in others. But we then make it real. And so what my request is that you find, if you can, a form, an image. Find a form or an image upon which you're going to hold that felt sense, that which is timeless, that which is all goodness, that which is beyond this moment, this body and being, and includes it, right? Inclusive in every direction. No poles, no dualities. We're moving beyond that and allowing the self to place the mind there. And so then we call out O compassionate one, O awakened one, O God. All goodness. And what do you call that is beyond the self and yet also part of something you know? Maybe it's all beautiful trees that I have ever experienced or know, all rivers, all waters, the elements, of course, which are frequently called the radiant sun, the coolness of the breeze, the moisture of the waters. Can you feel that? We can call on all of that. But we open beyond this small thinking mind, the one filled with self-cherishing, only interested in getting, seeking, craving. And we rest the mind in that larger, greater, bigger, more inclusive space. You may place the mind in the sky-like quality of that luminous awareness. You may picture an entity, a deity, a being. How do we activate this for you? And whatever you have called on now, we open and unify that. This is another step in the process of prayer. We open to that, I am that as well, and we unify. And so in the Tibetan tradition, of course, we have called the benefactor above us, for example. In the Christian tradition, maybe God or Jesus Christ or Mother Mary. In the Jewish tradition, David or Solomon. And we invite the unification. I am placing my mind in this. When I say mind, of course, I completely mean the heart mind. And I use light frequently as a visualization for me. I tend to pick natural elements. And so I can actually feel that sense of warmth, of light, a kind of resonance and radiance from that. That works for me. I experienced that actually as a child. And so I have that to draw on. And so we can then imagine the unification of the deity, the benefactor, the goodness, the divine. And we breathe that. And as we rest in that light of awareness, light of radiance, divine luminosity, in unity, we then find voice. We find voice for this. What comes to mind? I'm going to recite a Christian prayer. If you're of the Jewish faith, find one to recite. Also, um, I'm just going to pick something that most of us know. And I want you to see what the impact of that resonance, that very calling it out, speaking it out, reciting and repeating. And then I'm going to ask that you find something there for yourself. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Regardless of your tradition, can you see what we're calling for? Our greater selves. May I be a boat, a bridge. And there's others that we have recited, of course, here. And remember, this does not necessarily have to come out of a tradition. This may be a poem. This may be words that you use, both to soothe the distress and to open to that which is beyond the distress. See if we can find a few sets of words that you can repeat. That offer that resonance, that unification, that remembering. inviting and unifying our greatest selves, that which is beyond this identity, certainly beyond the capability of a single individual. We join the community. And ask essentially that we be raised up in order that I may be skilled in discerning what is good, in order that I may understand the paths of peace. Let me be able and upright, straightforward and dignified in speech. May I be gentle and free from pride. Let me be contented, easily satisfied, having few duties. Prudent, without pride, and without attachment to nation, race, or other groups. May I not divide us, but join us. May all beings be well and safe. May they be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, may they all be happy. Let not cause harm to the other. May we treat each other as our precious child. And may we cultivate a boundless love for all. Feel where you feel the effects of whatever is resonant for you. Where do you feel that in the body? May I cultivate this boundless love for all beings in the world, above, below, across, beyond, unhindered, without ill will, greed, hatred, or defeat. And where you feel that most resonant, you can rest there. You connect the body, the voice, the imagery, the mind. You place it all in that divine light, however you can experience that. I think that's maybe what that phrase in the Christian tradition, be the body, the blood, and the breath of Christ, that we unify and become that which we see as the greatest goodness. Tibetan tradition say Omani Padme Hum. Behold the lotus in its blossom, that which is you. And then we offer the benefits of the prayer, the practice. May we all have happiness and the causes for happiness. May we all be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May we take great joy and gratitude at our good fortune and rejoice at the good fortune of others. And may we rest and dwell in this unification, in this equanimity, and the ease that it invites, free from the small mind that cannot be satisfied. We rest completely then, simply here. And may this prayer and practice be of benefit. Taking a moment So as we're gathering, I'd like, let's chat or come online. So I guess my first question would be, can you see the benefit of this idea of committing oneself, one's time, one's attention one's body, we embody it, and often regularly, depending on the traditions, with a special posture, right? We actually embody, whether that's bringing hands together, whether that's bowing head, whether that's a formal bow, remember whether that's a prostration. What we know is, to the extent that we embody or take the posture of, we did this practice many years ago when we were doing the Bodhisattva training with the way of the Bodhisattva, and many people found themselves, find your posture. Many people found their natural posture being out in nature with hands open, receptive, inclusive, expansive, right? Others drawing it all in, into one heart mind. There is no particular way for this. I would like you to find one this week. What is it? Just find one, try one, whatever that is. I'm going back to the prostrations. I had a very strong impact from that experience before. One, it's not bad for the knees either. So, there's all kinds of benefits. But for me, there was a lot of surrendering in having my entire body on the floor with my head, forehead touching the floor. And so I'm going to go back to that this week, just re-investigating, re-inquiring. And I started with 3, and then eventually at the end of that practice, got up to 30. I don't have a number. That's not the inquiry right now. So I don't want people committing that. But what is your posture of prayer, of opening, of including? So that's would be one. Any thoughts about that? Any particular posture? Remember, we've got open hands, drawing in, bows, anything that was feeling particularly resonant for you. Robin, you're there. I'm wondering if you have a thought about that.
I was in the Blue Buddha.
The medicine Buddha?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How was that for you? What was your experience with taking a fairly specific?
It was good.
Yeah. Could you feel the difference?
Definitely.
Yeah. It feeds intention, doesn't it? I mean,
Yes.
To take on a posture requires an intention, doesn't it? It's something larger than just blah, 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 whatever it is you might be reciting. And so actually the research says that setting the body first is actually the beginning of the prayer practice, meditation. And in fact, in the Zen tradition, just so you know, they say once you have assumed that posture, you are already there. Anything else that happens is just cherries on top. But the posture itself requires a certain kind of intention, doesn't it? Yeah. So you've got to get your pants on, for example, if you're going to do this. You've got to get the thing that won't wrap around your neck. As I was doing the prostrations in my last practice, I used to have necklaces on and they would get caught on the rug. And then I would pull my head up and it would almost choke me. It was like, okay, I've got to be mindful. I've got to kind of know what I'm doing because there are consequences to this. If you open the door and go outside, right, you are committing yourself in some way to unconditional weather, like cold or hot, rainy or not. I'm going. This is a commitment. And this is also, can you feel the intentionality in that, right? No matter what we say, I will embody, invest, intention, that Then what? Then we place the mind on purpose, whether that be vast open space, a particular deity, not for me to say, for you to inquire. Where does it matter? You all know that my grandmother Irene comes to mind frequently for me. Why? She was a most unconditionally loving source for me. That's a real experience for me.
I've been
Right?
thinking about learning how to daven. Do you know it?
Yes, Davin, yes, I do know.
So maybe I'll pull that prayer up this week, and they do a rocking.
I'm exactly doing exactly what it is.
I used to do it with my grandpa. He would do it twice a day.
Davening.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Now, by the way, not everyone here is Jewish, right? No, is that your tradition? No. Daven for a minute. Just rock back and forth. Feel the effect of that. It is a commitment,
Yeah.
isn't it? I'm moving forward. I'm opening. I'm moving into. It's a continuous vow. It's a continuous greeting, isn't it? I'm here, and now I'm here again. And now I'm here again. I didn't let it go. I'm here again. And I'm here, sunny and cloudy, rainy and not, davening, right? Isn't it beautiful? I sometimes daven without setting that as my intention. I'll just find myself in my, right? Don't you? In my meditation.
Very often.
My body just becomes active with that. There's just an energy in it. How beautiful is that? Again, can't we use everything from everywhere? Yeah, we can. By the way, what is required, just so you know, is commitment. If you're shopping for what I like versus what is a benefit, you will just flitter from like a bee from flower to flower. That's not so helpful, by the way. That is not so skillful. So if you find, that's why I want you to stick with it. If you're doing davening, as Robin is suggesting, then what I want you to do is stay with it all week. I want you to see the effect. I want you to do it 3 times a day. Why? Well, because the research again says that which you repeat grows stronger. And we call repeating something that is patterned, which has to be more than twice. Oh, there you go. Has to be more than twice. Well, you know, it's interesting. I noticed this for myself. When I go to yoga once a week, there is a certain positive effect, falls away pretty quick. Don't do it again. I go to yoga twice a week. Wow, kind of holding effect. I kind of notice the difference. The positive effects stay and grow. If I do it 3 times a week, different body. Different body. It's not even the same, right? Everything then. And so we know that in repetition, we think of repetition. The old understanding was more than once. And actually, it's not true. We now know it's more than twice. So we're going to invest that 3 times a day. Where? Well, we've got a lot of traditions in front of us here that say what? In the morning, in the evening, and somewhere else. Right? Now, by the way, this is throughout most spiritual texts. This isn't anybody's. This is this group and that group. Once in the morning, once in the evening, and some other moment. Can we try that? What would be workable then? You guys tell me. As you're thinking about this, what are you thinking? I can't wait to hear. What are you going to try? What are you going to say? What seems to resonate? What's the posture? Where are you placing the mind? Right? Let me hear from you. What's going on? I've got some chats. Let me take a look at these. Let's see here. Here we go. Renee, I found mine. Be still and know that all is good. Yes, I know that. An adaptation of a Christian directive. That's completely correct. It reminds me to slow down and still the body and mind, remembering the good in all things and in awareness. Be still and know that all is good. Isn't that lovely? Now, by the way, does it have to be 45 pages of text? You can feel the resonance in that, can't you? Yes, you can. I'm going to ask Renee what I've asked everyone, repeating that at least 3 times, making a gesture, adding a gesture to the phrase, and placing the mind in unification with what? Well, in Renee's case, it may be all that is good. All that is good. What does that look like? Well, I don't know for Renee. It doesn't matter, right? What's true for, what does that look like? How do I breathe that in? How do I move the body in response? What's my gesture? We're going to be practicing that. That which we practice will be available to us, not only in the moments of our practice. What I really want you to see is the implications throughout the whole of your day. Yeah, the remembering throughout the whole of your day. It reminds me to anchor to the body and live in awareness. Seth, that is beautiful and powerful, Renee, very much so. Carrie, it's all about being present in the moment, stopping the story. That's exactly right. Half the truth is stopping the old way. What's the other truth? Embodying the new way, embodying that which is greater, embodying that which is good, embodying that which is open, receptive, kind, loving, generous. You find your way. It is essential to stop the old way, which is what Carrie is saying, before we undertake the new. That's exactly right. You can't go to the new behavior while you are in the midst of the old. It won't be workable. Service of the heart, yes. This is hard. Yes, it is hard. Why? We have got a spinning, active, trained mind to do what? Exactly what it knows how to do by its training, by its practice. We stay locked up in that mind and feed it all day long. I want you to see what happens with 3 simple interruptions of that task-centered, self-centered, me creating mind. We're going to interrupt it 3 times a day. I would make this very workable for you so as not to make it harder. Harder. What would make it harder? Committing oneself to a 45-minute prayer. Whoops. How likely is that to happen? Not so much. I wouldn't do it. I would find a phrase, a short set of phrases, right, that are resonant for you. That's your first task. And then I would commit myself wholeheartedly for this week to that. How are you going to need to remember? Some of you are going to have to set alarms. Isn't that great? Terrific. Somebody's going to have to put a prayer hands in your calendar. Great. Somebody's got to have to say what? I'm doing this no matter what at these exact times a day. I do better that way. I do better that way. I do better going first thing in the morning, then sometime around noon, then sometimes once I get into bed before I go to sleep. That's me. I do better that way. I'm not good at catching moments. I'm not good. Then I'm short shrifted. My mind's scattered. I've got tasking happening. It actually doesn't work well for me. If you're going to leave it to that, I would say you are going to find it more difficult.
So just so I get straight.
Yeah, go ahead,
So-
Lee.
So I'm trying to kind of like figure out like, so I'm the not the task, but
The gesture.
yeah, the gesture that you're kind of talking about is to take a few moments 3 times a day and kind of find that place for you that is a refuge, or
Yeah, I
Or-
would say that's a
or
lovely
words?
base.
Are you kind
Yeah,
of like, is it like words that you're coming up with to kind of ground you? Or I guess I'm,
all of that. You can
Okay.
use any of that. Yeah, I would say the word refuge is beautiful. I'm going to stick with the word unification, which is in the science.
okay.
And the unification means greater than oneself, connected
Oh.
to that which is more. Courtney just wrote here, her phrase is, may I lead with love. That's going to be her phrase. So when she's taking that on, she's also placing the visualization. Remember, I've asked that you find this as well. And so, Leanne, you use the word refuge, which feels really lovely and right for you. You might place yourself in the refuge of what? Well, in the Buddhist tradition, for example, they say every day, right? May I take refuge in the Buddha. May I take refuge in the Dharma. May I take refuge in the Sangha. That's their prayer.
Okay.
You know, it's just a reminder. Where am I placing the mind? Where am I resting? What am I aspiring intentioning for this day? We're going to bring a visualization, a set of words, a gesture, and a commitment. It's going to take all of that. That's all in prayer, by the way. A visualization, that's not it. That's just in the sciences. We know that now. Vocalization, speaking it. Do we know that those who speak it out do better than those who repeat silently? Yes, we do. Why? More resonance, more present, more embodied. We actually know saying it silently is not as good, which is what I believe song became. Ways to speak that out, right? Generate that, which I think is just amazing and wonderful. And so the word may I take refuge in goodness. May I take refuge in that which is good. May I rest my whole being in the commitment to being of benefit this day. Could be any of that, right? You will find yours. I have a confidence in that which will be most useful for you. But vocalization, visualization, embodied gesture, repetition of phrase. Everybody got it? Visualization, vocalization, repetition of a phrase, embodied. These are the keys. And we know that all, even in Reiki training, by the way, healing touch, it's all the same. These are the functions in all of this. Distant prayer, right? We're doing research, thank goodness now, in interesting places at Yale and at Duke on distant prayer. Communities who are actually reciting the names of and calling out for the other. That person who is going through angioplasty happens to be, by the way, the procedure. Why did they pick angioplasty? Well, interestingly, when you're tense and doing angioplasty, it does not go well. You are not asleep during an angioplasty. You have to be awake. And so they have people both reciting for themselves, having groups of people recite, having people you know, people you don't know. They're researching all of this. And we already have some beautiful evidence. And also just people reciting for you at a distance with you knowing it, by the way. Yeah, guess what? Made a difference. That person going through the angioplasty who does not have a belief, does not have a tradition, does not have none of that, who knows that others are calling their name, sending blessings for healing, blessings for skillfulness of the surgeon, right? And the difference that made in the levels of stress, by the way, you will be able to find these studies, and in the levels of healing, 40% improvement. That's huge from distant prayer. Is that amazing? You are being held by the community of others and their goodness. They're holding you, helps you hold you, and it's always true. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, and it's a thing they're researching now called distant prayer. Do you know, just 5 years ago, I would say there was not one study funded by NIH on prayer. 5 years ago, not one on prayer. Today, this is how we have to remember how the world is growing, consciousness is happening, there are several, because we know now its benefit. It also says that the use of tefillah, leather that connects the hand, heart, and forehead, I've seen this, aids in self-evaluation, introspection. My guess is the tefillah is also an action or a
Yeah.
movement. Again, the science says it's so.
It's wrapped from the
Yes,
from the right hand finger, which goes to the heart, and then from the heart to the head.
yeah, a process.
Yeah.
Chawang, my monk friend from Nepal, I watched a little video of him, and he was repeating a particular prayer, and the bead would fall off of his shoulder, and part of the prayer was to put it back.
Mhm.
He did it again and put it back, and did it again and put it back. It was actually quite beautiful to watch. Rosaries, mala beads. And again, these are just some possibilities. There is yours. And I think what you come up with will be even more inspirational. I want to know what those things are. I am the I am as I am that I am. That's exactly right. Beautiful. For me, feet on the ground. Yep. Feeling Mother Earth. Yes. Hearing the aspen trees. That's exactly right. I use nature a lot myself. And thinking on stillness and the body to slow my mind. Yes. The body and nature. Yep. Also is very, we know this for sure, that the impact of and connection to nature is gigantic. It's why both my sister and I sit outside as often as we can in meditation or prayer. But you will need to take time. It isn't just auto in the car while driving. You will have to bring the whole body, mind, being to this. And you are going to find that it is somewhat tricky, because you've got to stop the thing you like to do that you're used to doing, called eating my sandwich while driving and texting my employees. Yes, I do know that. Can that also be a prayer? Yes, of course it could, because it isn't the actions itself, is it? What is it? Intention, motivation, aspiration, and that which we are calling. Those are typically done very unconsciously and habitually. All is well, says Robin with Reiki chants. Beautiful. It is said that we who have spirituality as a child, we have less depression. Yes, that is right. Yes, that is actually correct. And we who didn't have it can call upon it and create it now. And it will matter. So yes, very no doubt, there are things that those who have a spirituality, a tradition, ritual do that are holding for them. Often, what do we know? Let's go to things as simple as Sunday dinner. Yeah, you know what? People who had Sunday dinner regularly with their whole families have less depression than those people who don't. Yes, they do. Why? I can count on this thing that's bigger than just me. Isn't that amazing? Maybe everyone could just say my name 3 times a day. I love that, Leanne. Yes, actually, it would be more important if you did, but it also matters if we do. So says the distant prayer research. Yeah. And in fact, Chuang, who was here last Saturday, not only called out Jim's name, this is what brought me to this whole concept of prayer, but he sent Jim's name to many, many monasteries. And they were all, and so it ended up that it would be more than 30,000 monks calling Jim's name, assisting him on the way into the Bardo. Now, I don't know what Jim did to deserve that karma, but I'm very grateful for it. I'm very grateful. Whatever it was that got that to happen, how amazing is that? And what do we also know? It is not only in the living, it is not only in the dying, and it is not only at the time of death that those prayers matter. It is also after that still matters. It's still why we call the names of the beloveds, don't we? Even though my dad's been gone, going to be 4 years this November. My grandmother's been gone 20 something. Right? It's not the point, is it? We still call that godness, goodness, love, and compassion. Yeah, it makes me cry too. It makes me cry too. Have been practicing taking these breaks. Yes, it does require the stillness, silence, and pause. Exactly correct, Robin. We have to invite that. And in Rilke's book, this book of ours, for example, what does it say? Without stillness, I cannot hear you, God, he says. I cannot hear you if I am chattering, if I am in movement, if I am in tasking. I cannot know your name. And so yes, it is actually one of the requirements. Thank you for helping me underscore that, Robin. It does require pause from this normal activity. All right. Does everybody get this? Can I see video high fives, raised thumbs, clap? Yeah, I need to know you've got this. We're gonna, thank you, Leanne. We're gonna feel the difference in this. I want you to know it because I don't want you having to wait till the time of death and then hope that some monk somewhere calls your name. I want it there. I want you to have been doing that, both for you and for others. For you and for others. And this is an essential element of community, right? We hold each other like this, like this. We call those others. Okay, I think we've got it. Thank you so much. Yes, exactly. We wear jewelry of the other. I wore my father's cross just the other day. He has a very gigantic, gaudy, turquoise jeweled, that you can imagine a guy 6'4", 220 pounds, wearing 50 rosaries and crosses on his neck. In addition, my father had me spray him every night with holy water. And he would laughingly go, okay, spritz me. And I would squirt him. What did he know? What did he know? He went, uh-oh, I have not practiced. I'm going to have to call on those other supports. And so he wore
At least he
them.
didn't have the hose.
Yes, I think, would we have been willing to use the hose? He would.
Oh yeah, I can see you with the hose for sure.
Yeah, he'd been right there. We just did spritzes because, yeah, he was going to sleep. But see, let's practice now. Let's do it now. Let's embody it now so that not only do we have what we need, we have more than what we need. And not only then can we offer to ourselves what we can offer it to other, because there is abundance of it. That's which we practice grows stronger. And all right, thank you all so much. You've done a terrific job. I'm so glad this made some kind of sense to you. I was a little like, wow, this is going to be an interesting topic, because I know prayer also comes with a lot of baggage. A lot of baggage, from having to demands, for beseeching, for confession. And it's not that any of that is wrong. That's all one of the aspects of prayer. I just want to make sure that we know really what its true benefit and value is, and that we all use it, because it's quite amazing. And so let's offer that to ourselves for a moment, just right now. Coming into that stillness and silence. touching into the heart, the breath, the body on the in-breath, letting it open and expand the body. And on the out-breath, what do? We settle first, and then we expand. We move beyond the self. We don't get stuck there. And we rest in the vast open space of goodness that is all around, all through, above, below, side to side. And we breathe it into being in all directions. We bow the head, we place the hands, we lift up whatever feels embodied and right for you. And we place the mind. And I'm placing the mind in all of the goodness throughout all time. I breathe it in and I breathe it out. And then we offer the benefits of that prayer. We offer it to the healing, to the wholeness, to the holiness, to the health, to the protection of all beings. And when we pray for the self, what we're praying for is that we are sufficient, that we are whole enough, that we are strong enough, that we are courageous enough to bear the present moment and whatever it brings. And when we are not enough, we pray that we be assisted by what? Everything. The community we know and that we don't, the deities that we entrust, the divine sources in all directions. May they all be of assistance. May we dedicate the merits, the blessings, and the benefits of all of this prayer throughout all time. May we offer this to the end of suffering in the realization of true abiding happiness and freedom. We call to mind those special ones, Olivia, David, and Erica, Francis, Alejandra, Christopher, Jim, Libby, Caitlin. We think of all those who are in a moment of need, and we offer ourselves and all the good to their well-being. May we rest in the refuge of all the awakened ones. May we seek the realities of the Dharma. Whatever the truth is, may we have the strength and the courage to know it, to abide it, to heed it, to be mindful. And then may we live in community consistent with those truths. And may this practice today contribute. May it be so this very day, making it a good day. So Thank you all so much. From Tuesday, we have been dropping our rocks. This is my gigantic rock that I've been carrying and throwing in my letting go practice. Really, what it has turned out I have been letting go of are my old self-cherishing ways. This wrap around myself for some moment or other with something. It's now got all kinds of new colors and chips and fabulous things in it. It's been a fabulous practice. If you didn't watch Tuesday's video, make sure you do get a rock. It doesn't have to be the same one. I've just been using this howlite, which happened to have been right here and the perfect one for me. But now we are adding not only what we let go of, but what we invoke, what we invite, what we are inspired to be. What we are inspired to be. Let's do that. Yeah. Blessings to all of you. I will take those vows as a beautiful offering from you to me and me to you. So be well this day, everyone. I'll look forward to seeing you Tuesday. We're going to be probably starting our whole life path. This is actually a part of it. I'm just grabbing a little piece that I'm going to want us to be doing every day once we start a whole life path, which will be in about 2 weeks. I just need a little time to get it together. This is by Gregory Kramer, a friend of mine. He just wrote that while he was sick and did not know. He had multiple myeloma, did not know if he would live to finish it. And he did, and he wrote a very inspirational book as a result that I'm sure we're going to be able to use well. So be well, everyone. I will be teaching on next Saturday from Santa Barbara. Yay. Al and I are going to get away. I know, I'm so excited about that, Thursday through Monday, but I will still be practicing and I will still be here, but we will not be in the garden next Saturday as I was hoping, which is the 9th. We will now be in the garden the following week on the 16th. So yes, I did say we'd be in the garden on the 9th. I'm changing that because I will be in Santa Barbara. So no next Saturday, not in the garden, but we'll see you the following Saturday and be practicing with you from Santa Barbara next week, as well as Tuesday, I'll be here. All right, everyone. Yeah, good to see you all. Courtney, so lovely to see you. Hope all is well. Carrie, thank you always. Adrian, I saw, thank you. Margie, nice to see you as well. Good to see everyone. Fit in your practice this week. If you struggle with it, please let me know how I can help you. It will take a little efforting at the beginning. All right, everyone. Mwah, to everybody. Be well. Leslie, safe travels. Bye.